Hi, this is Joe at the Small Wood Shop, and you can see this and other videos at my website, thesmallwoodshop.com. I was asked by a couple of the viewers of my videos how I make these wooden hinges. Well, what got me started in wooden hinges was these hinges, which everyone else uses, are like $5 to $10, and this hinge here, and I use a brass pin to hold it all together, is this scrap, and this is, you can get 3 feet of this for $4 up at the home center. So I started using wood hinges. There's 2 styles. If you have a box with a raised lid on that you build up, then you need to use a hinge like this. 2-part. Whoop, wrong part. This part, the small part, has to be recessed flush, and I hold it in with dowel pins. You can use screws if you want, with the box. And then the other part sticks up to receive it. Now, the 2 things you got to remember here is these are 1/2-inch hinges. So this, even part of the hinge at the bottom, has to be flush here. This part has to be, the bottom has to be flush with the bottom of your box. Now there's several ways, numerous ways you can make these box joints. You can go out and buy a good Freud box point saw blade, and this one's good for 1/4 3/8, and it does a nice job. You can use it, on your table saw. But what you'll get when you use them is you'll get tear out on this side. You can avoid the tear out by either wrapping your saw line with tape, painter's tape, or just putting another piece of wood behind it so it doesn't tear out. The other way is to buy one of these Woodsmith $80 contraptions, and they send you a video, and they have their little TV show where they're all nice and clean and no sawdust and everything always works. But this is forever to set up, because the saw blade's right here, or the router bit, and then there's this 1/4-inch space, and then you have this thing that's 1/4 inch. But it takes forever to set up, because ideally everything is 1/4 inch here. So everything interlocks. But if you're off a 64th, you're done. It just ain't gonna work. So once you get this thing set up, it's wonderful. You can also, this is set up with a guide that you can just use it on your router table, which is what I do, because you get minimal tear out, and it just does a better job. It's a cleaner job. You can also, like they did in the old days, get a vise, use a back saw, and you can get one of these at any flea market for $4 and cut them up by hand. There's nothing wrong with that. Square them up with a good 1/4 inch chisel. You'll do a good job. You can make these out of any scrap wood you want, or whatever. These are old oak, and this is mahogany setup box. When you put this on here, as I said, just make them flush, both ends. Now when you first, and then it gets the brass pin in there, and you'll see when you first try to open it, it won't open. You got to do some rounding of the pin heads, or the fingers here. Just round them off. You'll see. You can just do it on sandpaper. It doesn't take a lot. The other thing, you can see that a little drill bit in the chuck here, the chuck's going to start hitting this. So when you set it up and get it nice and plumb, you need to get a long drill bit. Take it down through there. Just make sure everything's plumb when you do this. The other thing we need to do is when you're measuring this stuff for like a jewelry box or anything, throw this away. This is good for some 6-foot cabinet, and you know, it's wonderful. You got to use these. This is a steel roll. It's accurate every time. You say, why ain't this accurate? If you'll notice, this blade here is a little bit curved. When you get on thin pieces, like this 1/8" cedar, it's going to measure different here than at the end. It has to. So these are nice for big projects and thick wood. Thin wood, you got to use a steel roll. Get rid of my back saw here. The other type of box, or hinge, and there's no set pattern for this. It's whatever your imagination will let you do. On this box, this is all held together with dowel pins. They go clear through the other side. So is this box, but I put these decorative tacks to cover the dowel pins. And this is a thicker hinge. This is like 3/4, 7/8 of an inch. What you got to remember on this one is you lay your hinge on here after you get it cut out. The bottom of the pins has to be even with the back of the box. And on the other way, this part coming up, this bottom of the hinge, has to be even with the top of your lid. And it allows for it to come up very nicely. Now if you have a real tight setup, whatever system you use, you can see that this is pretty tight. So it's got to be really hard. I mean, it's very nice. The box lid will stay up, but you just want to take a little sandpaper in there and just loosen these up by like 1/1000th. And you won't be fighting it so much. Plus there's a danger on hardwoods that you can break the pin off. And then that's start all over. So you can use any design you want, cut them out, make a nice pattern with a compass or whatever you like here. There was no blueprint for this. I just made it out of my head. So if you just take your time and have your wastebasket handy, because the first ones you make you're going to end up throwing out. But you'll learn just like I did. And it's very rewarding, it's very unique, and each one says, well, this is my own design and I really like it and it's unique. So have fun with it, take your time, and don't get discouraged. Thanks for watching. And remember, it's almost right, it's wrong. Thank you. And remember, I used to edit this part out, me going over to the camera, but this ain't Hollywood.